Welcome to Missed Opportunities for Good, the podcast where we open up the space to have conversations about trends and campaigns at the intersection of marketing, advertising, and impact.
Hi, I'm Alana Ficalora.
Hey, I'm Steph Belsky.
We're social impact strategists, colleagues, and friends who are on a mission to revolutionize the industry we love.
Today, there's a lot of virtue signaling, greenwashing, cause washing, or companies saying nothing out of fear of getting it wrong.
Whether it's a moment or a movement, it still has to be real. It has to be authentic and aligned with the brand, not just performative. It's about the action being taken that goes along with the messaging.
So, we're here to highlight who's doing it well, what could be better, and how companies can stop leaving money and the potential for real social change on the table.
Our guest today on Creative Conversations is Jonathan Jacobs. Before we get into your bio, Jonathan, can you tell us why you do what you do without saying what you do?
Yeah, this was a challenge. I'm thankful that I got this question in advance. I'm going to be honest. Thank you both for having me, of course, and thank you everybody who's listening. And I'll say this, that I think the reason I do what I do is because I believe that stories have the ability to shift the Overton window for people on what is possible and to help them envision realities that they never believed could be their own.
Love that. Love that.
It's a nice, concise way to explain it.
Yeah.
It's the only time all episode I'm going to be concise. So
Perfect.
I love it.
So now let's actually share what it is that you do, Jonathan. A marketer who is never afraid to cause a little friction, Jonathan Jacobs is the co-founder of LOUDMOUTH, a creative advocacy agency, and formerly co-founded the digital marketing agency, Digital Natives Group. A strategist by trade, Jonathan has worked with brands ranging from the NFL to Duolingo to Comcast, NBC Universal. He's also unwavering in his commitment to asking better of his industry, which we love, and is an active member of the movement to expand the box on American manhood.
Welcome to Missed Opportunities for Good. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. I look forward to meeting the person you just talked about. He sounds wonderful.
I think I know a guy.
You are he. Okay, so let's just jump in. What Jonathan first drew you to doing impact work?
It's such an interesting question, and there's two things that this brings up for me in my way of answering this. And the first is that in between the period when I sold my first agency and before I started LOUDMOUTH, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next, I was interviewing for roles just to keep my options open. And I remember one of the conversations I had during an interview, somebody asked me, because this was for a job in social impact, they said, "Where does your empathy come from?" And I was floored. Like, I had never stopped to consider that before, because to me, it's like, where does it come from? It exists. Like, how could it not exist? How can you not have this? And the second story to that is, so that was the first time someone ever asked me a question that's even similar to what we're talking about here, right? Like, I had never hit pause in life to consider that there's an alternative. The second part of this, my uncle very recently told me a story about his first wife, and they were doing a fundraiser to build a Holocaust memorial at their temple on Long Island. And as a part of doing this, they tried to bring Miep Gies to their temple to do a fundraiser and a lecture. For those of you who don't know, Miep Gies was one of the individuals responsible for helping to hide Anne Frank and her family during World War II. Yeah. And she had really not often publicly spoken about what happened. She very rarely at this point traveled. She was fairly old at this point. So, a transcontinental flight would be a big deal. But they did manage to bring her in. And somebody asked the question of, I'm going to butcher the question, but the point will come across, which is like, why did you do it? What made you were pretty much putting your life on the line. Every future you had, you could have escaped without anything happening to you. Why did you do it? And her answer was, how could I not? What other option was there? And I think about, for you to say to me, what draws me to impact, my response similarly is just like, how could I not focus on this? Like, how could this not be a critical part of what I do every day? How can I not care about the impact of what I do on people around me, of how I'm using my skills towards making the world a better place. Like I think it's hard for me to put myself in a framework to say, well, what would it look like if I didn't care about this? Or what was it like before I did that? And now what I do think is the journey is not so much about what draws me to impact as what has had me step into my desire to be more impactful in the professional setting, right? Because I think we're very much taught or we were very much taught when I was coming of age in this industry, in any industry, that there's different selves, right? There's the personal self, there's the professional self. These exist in different silos, and never shall the twain meet, because then we'll be, killing Independent George if you're a Seinfeld fan. And I believed that for a good amount of time. And then you just start to reconcile, like, this is actually a really cognitively dissonant framework, because you could do things as a professional that directly compromise what you believe as a person. And I think that the most transformative moment for me was in the summer of forget if it was 21 or 22, I attended a virtual training institute for a call to men, which is a nonprofit that seeks to expand the box on American masculinity and break open the man box, and also end gender-based violence, that I'm very fortunate to sit on the board of. But I attended the Virtual Training Institute, and two things really stopped me in my tracks. And it was, one thing was, somebody said to me, you don't have to have all the answers to be in search of hope and healing. Basically saying, you have permission to hit pause. If you hear a conversation you don't like, if you hear an idea that you think is problematic, you don't need to have a better solution. You can just say, hang on, we need to talk about this. And that gives everybody else in the room permission to voice their concern. And the second piece of that is, we watched a documentary, and I'm going to shorten this because I've been talking for a while and maybe you have questions, and I don't want to monopolize this entire episode with one question answer. But basically, it was a film of trans activists talking to men who have discomfort around trans identifying individuals. And this woman basically said something to the effect of, like, in life, you got to carve out your square foot. And along the way, it means you're going to shed people, but it also means you're going to attract the people who need to stand next to you. And again, like, those two things coming together were, for me, the permission to say, like, I need to step off the ledge, because I can't straddle both. A square foot is only so much territory. So to become myself, if this is what I really care about, then I need to be this in every aspect of who I am as a person.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's amazing. And I love that it's essentially hardwired into you, right? That it's just who you are, and knowing that and owning that from the beginning and throughout your career, I think is amazing.
And I do want to make sure that I say at this point, it does not mean I am perfect in that journey. And it does not mean everything I do is impactful. I still occasionally use ChatGPT. Sometimes Lowe's is closed and I go to Home Depot to get the one thing I need. Like, I am not perfect, but I am in search of being better. And I think that is, to me, that's what counts.
But I think, I think that that's the piece that's so important, right? And being aware and conscious that it's not all just about us, and that there are ways we can use our skills and resources in a positive way to make the world a better place, and to, it's always about leaving the world a little better than you found it. When you visit someone else's house, leaving a little bit than you found, like, everything, leaving the world a little bit better is just, like, it can be incremental. It can be one thing at a time. Look, I just realized, today's National Boycott Day, and I was like, that's fine. I don't need to go shopping today anyways. Like, what's just one day? Though when I was getting gas yesterday, there were a lot of people getting gas, and I was like, oh, maybe all these people are doing it today so they don't do it tomorrow. But also, then I was pulling my tax documents off of my investment account, and I was like, I have Tesla stock. This is a horror. And immediately emailed my advisor. I was like, please divest immediately. And so sometimes there's just little things that we don't even realize, right? Or, then I had Amazon too. And I was like, what are we doing here, people? But anyways, all that to say, I think we're all doing the best we can at any given moment. And so we're all trying to improve. So anyhow, I just wanted to acknowledge that with my too long of an anecdote as well. On that note of it being embedded, what issue areas, because I know there's more than one, are you most passionate about?
It's tough, right? With everything happening right now, it almost feels like you're constantly moving to focus on a different issue area. But I would say That's definitely true. You know, I happen to live in Los Angeles, so it was a lot of community and mutual aid work in the month of January for recovery. And that obviously led to a lot of conversations about climate change, conversations we need to have been having all along. But I would say the through line throughout my life as an activist, as a volunteer, as a marketer has been kind of this thread around one in social justice as it relates to prison reform and saving our criminal and justice system, and the other thread being ending gender-based violence and healing American manhood. I think those are the two things that I am most passionate about, and that if I left this industry tomorrow, I would donate all of my energies towards fixing.
That's amazing.
Love that. I mean, especially for young boys that are growing up right now, to have role models like you and like other good men who are really wanting to be a part of the conversation to help all people become better humans. So I hope we'll jump more into what expanding the box on American manhood means a little bit more as we continue this conversation.
And I was just going to say, we would love to link in the show notes to any of these organizations too that you would love for us to highlight in these issue areas. We would love to include them to send people to learn more and, get involved.
Is there an impactful project you've worked on either recently or in your past that you're most proud of that you want to share?
Yeah, I think the results were not what I wanted, but the process was great. And I will say, so from about July to November of last year, I had the great privilege of leading a group called Creatives for Harris. Listeners may recall that in the wake of Joe Biden stepping down, Kamala Harris stepping up, there was this surge of real people power coming to the fore, led by Black women and the organization led by Taka Edie, Win with Black Women. Doing fundraisers, doing virtual events, doing everything to help support the ticket. And Win with Black Women went first. I believe the next one up was either Win with Black Men or the white women showing up. I forget which, but that just led to this cavalcade of events. I got involved with Men for Harris, and then we very quickly realized, like, oh, there's a lot of momentum here. People need like infrastructure and support, and we are creative professionals who could potentially provide that. So let's help channel what we can do to support, these groups that are raising money, doing GOTV, et cetera. We expected to have like 100 people raise their hand. By the time all was said and done, we had 1,200 people volunteer to get involved.
Wow.
And that was amazing to me because, it was, I didn't expect that. It would be different if we were doing an initiative about climate change. It would be different if we were doing an initiative about prison reform. It would be different if we were doing an initiative about wind power. I would expect a lot more people to raise their hands because these are things that are, for the most part, have reached a point that they have majority like approval on doing something about, and they are less contentious to bring into the workplace for the most part. In this day and age, I don't even know anymore, but like everything is contentious. But I did not expect to do something that's so clearly aligned with a political party and a political candidate. I did not expect to see people want to raise their hand like that. And it was really heartwarming and refreshing to me to find 12, again, I talked about square foot. Like I just found the 1,200 people who can stand on that square foot with me. And it was, again, like there are these little inflection points. And that was another moment for me for him. Like I can be louder. Like I don't have to hide. There are people who feel the same way that I do, and we can be obnoxious and noisy and irritating about it because that's what the work of advocacy and activism can require. Like we need to speak up and use the tools we have and the platforms we do. And we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of great projects. I could do a whole other episode on a post hoc analysis of what I think we did well, what I think we missed. But more importantly, I think it helped people within our group find their voice and their side of activism as well. And I'm really excited to say that in the next week or two, we're recording this on February 28th. So sometime in mid-March, we'll be relaunching the group as the Public Works Collective and bringing our set of skills in the same type of projects to help, mutual aid groups, charities, and other organizations that might not necessarily have the budget to bring in marketing teams or marketing strategists or creative strategists and help them amplify the amazing work that they're all doing.
Oh, that's fantastic. Wow. It's so needed right now. I mean, obviously now more than ever. But
Absolutely.
I love that you're pivoting, that you're keeping this group engaged, and that everybody's really excited to use their creativity and use their gifts to benefit others. That's tremendous. That's so
Yeah,
exciting,
it's
Jonathan.
been really heartwarming to see the number of people who were eager for us to come back and do
Yeah.
something. And we needed some time off. We needed to collect our thoughts and feelings and whatever. And
Right.
also just so heartwarming to now see the creative energy that they're bringing back to, right now we're wrapping up like the branding exercise for who we are.
Yeah.
So it was like, what's the name, and then what's the mission statement and the design identity. So that's kind of just the final piece we're waiting on. But seeing the enthusiasm, the ideas, like people want to get back to work. They know how important how important it is that we to play our role as marketers and storytellers to amplify the work of the frontline individuals who are trying to make change happen.
Yeah, and to capitalize on that momentum,
Mm.
to keep that interest going. Because so often too, right, people do the sprint because they know it's a sprint and there was an end date. And to, obviously the election results didn't coincide with what everyone was hoping for, but for people to not come out of that feeling defeated and like their work didn't matter, but to feel like that was just their first step and to want to continue to stay involved and push it forward and continue to give back. And that, I'm sure for a lot of people too, realizing that their day job isn't fulfilling enough and that they can use their abilities for a positive impact in an important way. And so being able to continue that model, I think, is fantastic. And I mean, obviously I'm one of the 1,200 who didn't fully get to participate, but follow along and hope to get more involved. So I think it's just really amazing to watch and see it grow and all of that. So thank you.
It's great. And I think we all have, to your point, we all have our role to play. And I always think about it as each of us, in the same way that when Hillary Clinton in her concession speech talked about having, 81 million more cracks in the ceiling or whatever it was she said. Yeah. I always think about it as like, we each have our role to play, pushing the door open a little bit further. And this is everybody kind of showing up to throw a little bit more weight behind it so that whoever comes after us can push it even further and keep making that change happen.
Yes. The theme of today, having our role to play. What would you say is the biggest challenge you're facing right now with this launch? I mean, it could be with anything, but between, this launching, you have LOUDMOUth going, your advocacy for Ben, where are you finding challenges in your day-to-day?
I'll tell you, I'm not someone who does resolutions, just not a thing for me, but I do two practices. One that I borrowed from a friend who I see do this on social media. Her name is Sarah Hardman. She's not really a friend, an acquaintance. We went to college together and now we follow each other on social media. I shouldn't oversell that.
That's a friend.
She's like, who's that guy?
Yeah, like a modern day friendship. And I think I should try to give credit. I do think she said it was inspired by someone else, but I can't remember who. She does these more or less lists where it's like, what do I want the year ahead to have more of and less of? And so I do that because I think I like how that is. Again, it's like giving it a thematic structure without putting really hard benchmarks where you're like, I'm measuring my progress towards losing weight or these other things that I think are just really restricting. Yeah. And then it's also something you can grow and adjust as the year goes on. So I do that. And then I come up with like a word for the year. Like what word is guiding who I am? So for me in 2024, the word was focus. This year, the word is presence. And I think I'm still struggling with both of those. And I think for the reason in 2024 I picked it is that I was just doing so much and I needed to say, like, what am I trying to do? A business, a book, a movie, a this, a that, or whatever. I think focus for me this year is a little bit different because I almost want to change it away from presence, because presence was about like being off devices, doing one activity at a time, focusing on having an external presence. But in the wake of what the first, I can't believe I'm saying this, 5 weeks, the first 5 weeks of what this administration has been, it is really, really hard to not be dragged into the muck. And I think in a lot of ways, I have been good about it. I deleted all my breaking news notifications. I used to check, 3 or 4 news websites a day when I was doing my waking up, having a cup of coffee. And I've taken that down to one website that is like a blog of analysis rather than headlines. I never read things that are palace intrigue or should, could, would. Like I just focus on like actually has happened or will happen or things like that. Yeah. But even beyond that component of it, every day there is a new danger for a community or a cause that I care about.
Yeah.
And how do you avoid? It's not even about, Bannon talks so much about flooding the zone, right? The opposition is not the opposition, it is the media. And if we can make them so overwhelmed that they don't know what to cover, we win, because they'll stop one policy, but we'll get the other two through.
Right.
I think the problem with me for flooding the zone isn't so much that I become so overwhelmed I want to turn off. I become so overwhelmed that I try to solve every problem at once.
Yeah.
Right? Not that I can solve it, but let me rephrase that. I try to do something for every problem at once.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to like wrap my head around, is like, I can't be responsible for all this. No one person can. We each have our role to play. So like, what is the one problem I can focus on fixing for people who I know and love and are affected by? And what resources am I channeling into that? And let me move on it, because it's so easy to, you're in Slack talking to people one day, or you're on a text message or a phone call or whatever, and you're like, we have this great idea for how to call attention to this problem or bring resources to this. But then the next day, some new travesty happens, or a fresh hell has been created, and you're like, fuck, I gotta put out, I don't know if I can curse, sorry, I did.
No, you
I gotta go.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
The world requires lots of cursing these days.
I gotta go put out that fire. And you're like, wait, but I didn't solve that thing from the other day. So I think, to answer your question, I think for me, it's still that issue of just like focus. I have got to pick that one thing I want to work on and move ahead with it, so that we can actually get to an outcome rather than just being frustrated.
Yes. Oh my God, preach. I feel like so many of us in this space feel exactly that same sentiment, Jonathan, that you are just so beautifully encapsulating right now. And it's like choose one and run with it. And then once you see the results, then you can move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I think, as we're talking about, just one other thing I want to pinpoint, because it's top of mind for me right now, is also like, I think a lot about, what is the energy I'm channeling internally. When I was in school, I went to Georgetown. And the reason I went to Georgetown was I wanted to do politics. I was there from 2008 to 2011. The reason I didn't end up doing it is because that was the first Obama administration. It was the time of the Tea Party. And I just kind of looked around and was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I don't think I can wake up every day and have hatred for the other side in my heart, regardless of what side of the aisle you are on. Both of these are conversations that are based on capitalizing on being pissed off at other people. And whether or not that's necessary, I was like, I'm not bringing that energy into my stomach every day, because that's like that's long-term health consequences as far as I'm concerned. However, I say all that to say, I think one of the things I'm grappling with right now too is, as I am on the journey of stepping into my power, like having the grace for people who are not at the same space on the journey. When I open LinkedIn every day and I see people who have a good platform on here, but who only just share memes, I get frustrated, because I'm like, I know that you and I have had offline conversations, and I know that you agree with me on these things, or at least you have told me you do. And yet all you do is talk about how hard it is to be a social media manager, or how hard it is to be a brand director. And I'm like, you could do so much more with what you have, but you're only channeling it to this. But in their defense, if I were to jump back to who I was 5 years ago, I wasn't talking about this stuff on LinkedIn. Like, so trying to have grace for the fact that everyone is on their journey in a different timeline, and figuring out how can I maybe help accelerate that in some way, but also like not get angry at them in the process, because how would I have liked it if someone did that to me? And B, this isn't an anger I can control. They're going to do what they're going to do. Why am I letting myself have this? We talk about this a lot, the let them theory. Let them do what they're going to do. I don't need to feel a way about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
exactly.
Yeah. To your point that everyone's on their own journey,
and
and everyone's processing what's happening in their own ways and reacting to it. And I think, giving people grace, I think is such an important thing to think about, and how people choose to respond and deal with it, and what people are doing maybe personally on the side versus putting up vocally in one platform versus another, things like that. Everyone is kind of figuring that out for themselves. And I also just wanted to say, Steph knows this about me. I too have that same problem of wanting to put out all the fires all the time. And I want to do all the things. It's hard.
And it's like,
and they're all connected.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it's the definition of intersectionality is literally everything is happening, right? Like these are all intersecting at the same time. Not the literal definition, with apologies.
But everything everywhere all at once. It's all going on.
Everything everywhere else. Well, that's how I always feel like when I think about climate change, because I'm like, how can I not be more active in this? And then like, but there's so many other. That's how I always remind myself that there's so many other people doing amazing things. Like, let's just use our industry as an example. Clean Creatives does amazing, fabulous work. Let them run with that. Let me do something else that's not getting the coverage it needs, whether that's social justice reform, whether that's gender-based violence, whether that's like protecting democracy, women's rights, like they've got it covered. And something that I learned through my like foray into the political organizing space is like you do not need to do the work that people are already doing. Just elevate the people already doing it. So let me elevate. If you care about climate change, go focus on Clean Creatives. I'm going to go do something else. Step out of the way.
And I think that's so it's so important, and also such an interesting thing when people first enter the impact space as well, that sometimes people will come in and say like, oh, but I want to go do this. I'm going to go start my own nonprofit, or I'm going to go solve for this thing. And you're like, okay, that's great, but look around first and understand the landscape. And is somebody already doing that? Because maybe you'll be best served actually by going to support the work someone else is already doing, or uplifting the voices already having those conversations. And it's looking and understanding who is already in a space, who's already doing the work, what actions are already being taken, and maybe instead being able to improve or elevate, which is why I think it's really cool as well with what you do with Creatives for Harris, and then also how it's being rebranded now as Public Works Collective, to be able to go and support these organizations who are doing the work, but maybe don't have the resources for these other elements. So I think that tie is also really important, because in a way, it also allows you to touch more issue areas, because you're able to give to support to something that already has a baseline. So your amplification of that sets that off to a new level, and then you can go over here and work on something else. And so I think it's another great way to also be able to have fingers in multiple hubs, and to continue to empower those people who you are having these side conversations with, right? Who maybe after they work on some of these projects will start to find their own voice and their own ways and things too. So I think that's really cool to take your core power strength in that sense as well.
It also defines your lane too, right? You're saying, okay, great. Clean Creatives, you've got climate under control, like in terms of the creative work that's coming out, right? And like Alana said, that you can help amplify that, right? By what you're doing. And you can also take on other issues that are meaningful to your group too. And listening to who's involved and what's important to them.
It's funny. Right before this meeting, I was working on a copy kit for a client that we had to distribute out to the partners to help promote an event that this client's doing. And one of the rules that I was first taught when I was learning copy, and by taught, I mean found on the internet, was you only want to ask within a single post, you only want to ask people to do one thing, provide one button, one link. The more things there are, the less likely you are to have people take the key action. Like people might still do stuff, but if you have 10 people click, you could have had 50 if you only had one button versus the two. And I as we were talking about this, to me, it's like, why am I not applying the same logic to my organizing, right? Yeah, I could send out one email that's like, here's 50 things you could do about climate action, and they could touch all different types of areas, but then people are just going to be scurrying all over doing different things. And it's not going to be impactful, because you're going to have 5 people write to their congressman, you're going to have 5 people donate $50, you're going to have 5 people do a Facebook post. Whereas if you had 15 people do each of those things individually, that'd be great. So it's this like, I think this problem outside of our industry gets talked about as, okay, well, my channel is about topic X. Then the commenters are, well, how can you not be talking about topic Y if you want to talk about topic X? Well, in my opinion, it's because, well, then the message gets muddled, right? I am here to inform you specifically about this thing. I can put up a post that's like, go follow A, B, and C if you want to learn about Y, but I am here to tell you about X because this is the lane of knowledge and expertise that I have. And to what you're saying before, Lana, like, that's our whole focus with this new Creatives for Harris Public Works Collective is we're here to help the helpers, right? We are not here to come in and capitalize on existing resources. We want to just elevate you so that more people can go, hey, I want to point to them because they're doing the thing that y'all want to learn more about. And there is a well-documented litany of literature on white saviorism within nonprofits and mutual aid groups where we try to come in and create a new solution when the reality is there's been 50 solutions that already exist there. I remember a friend of mine who works for the State Department, he told me a great story once, and I'm going to butcher the example, but the message will come across, where there was some grant or some money that was going to be given to this country. And I'm not going to name where it was because I don't remember what country it was, but it was going to be given to a country to help create trains to go through the mountains to help move product and merchandise. Because currently it was all happening on the back of bicycles and motorcycles, and like people were dying and could be done faster and
Yeah.
And they're trying to do it, trying to get it go through. And like, they're just hitting red tape. They're hitting they're hitting issues. They're hitting construction stuff. They're hitting issues with the public. And the reality of it is these people did not need trains. What they needed is safer motorcycles and bicycles because it keeps people employed. It doesn't lead to terraformation of the land. It's a technology that everybody understood. The reality is we were trying to put our framework on how they live their lives. And to me, it's the same thing with if we try to create a new organization, right? Like so many people, when we did this form to help us understand what we want to do next with Creatives for Harris, the 3 issue areas that I think you would expect people to say they care most about were the ones that came to the top, which were, if I remember correctly, were democracy protection, LGBTQIA protections, reproductive health, and then climate change were like the top 3 or 4.
Makes sense.
What the heck can I and Britton do, Britton, my co-founder of Creatives for Harris, that is better than anyone else who's been doing work in all these spaces for a long ass time? Now, we're not creating something new. We're not going to work on new messaging frameworks. We're going to go find the organizations and go, hey, you're doing great stuff. Can we help you tell your story better? Can we help you amplify? Do you just need graphics to be made? We are here with thousands of years of industry experience across all of us. Put us to work. Tell us what you need.
Yeah. And that in and of itself is such a big need because so many of these organizations don't have the resources to focus on their messaging. And so that is actually, in fact, where they do need the most support. And as we know with most of climate, we wouldn't be in this mess if our climate comms were doing better. So it's still definitely a space that could use some love, to say the least, even though, even with great organizations that are out there having these conversations, there are so many climate conversations happening in and of itself that there's so many organizations who could use storytelling support still. So yes, to all of that.
Exactly. And the fact that you're going to give them the resources and the language that they need to be able to make this accessible, and the tools and media kits and social media assets, like all the things that these organizations know they need and know they can't afford.
Right.
And I just feel like organizations are going to be banging down your door, dude. They're going to be
Actually, let me rephrase that. I hope they don't have to. I realize they will have to.
Right. Right. They will have to.
Yes.
All right. Well, we can talk all day long, but before we jump into the campaign that you've brought us, which we're very excited to jump into, we're going to quickly review our criteria for you, Jonathan, as well as for our listeners. So the first thing we always look at is alignment.
Next is partnerships.
Call to action and transparency.
Engagement.
And lastly, optimization and amplification.
So on that note, Jonathan, if you can please tell us a little bit about the campaign that you brought us today, both the creative approach and why you thought it would be a great one for us to discuss today and what they're doing well.
Sure. So we are dipping into the archives a little bit with what I am bringing to the table, which was the Reverse Renegade Challenge that I think was BBDO, Haynes and Champion working together to launch a new crewneck sweatshirt, not a crewneck hoodie. Those are different products. A crewneck sweatshirt in 2022 or 2020, I think 2021 or 2022, I forget which. And this was an influencer collaboration / call to action that they did. Some listeners may remember, it was 2021 because that's when the strike happened. But in the summer of 2021, Black content creators on TikTok kind of went on strike. They were like, we're not getting the credit that we deserve. The prime example of that was Jalea Harmon, who created the dance for Renegade. And they said, we're not giving you new content. We're not doing dances. We're not doing choreography. We're not doing comedy. We're not doing anything. And they went on strike. And it was a big deal. It led to a lot of conversations. Did probably not led to the volume of recognition that was deserved, but it was a huge talking point covered nationally in the media. The campaign that I'm pointing to, and as it relates to this, is this campaign that Champion and Hanes did to launch their crew neck. And because it was the reverse, they wanted to work with Jalea Harmon, really help her get her flowers here. And she created the Reverse Renegade Challenge. So she reverse engineered her dance, basically did all the moves in reverse, and created that as a new trend coming out of the content creator strike in that summer.
It's so smart. And yeah, I'm excited to jump into this a little bit more. What I love about this is that, her, like, they were able to give the credit where credit was due, right? And just blow up her account and really make her the spotlight of this whole thing.
I listen, I think ultimately I'm all about people getting paid. So I am so happy to see the redistribution of money to someone who deserves it and the elevation of platform for that. So, I do this all the time, right? Like I source quotes from creators before I bring them to clients. And I also then elevate them up to the highest number. So like if someone quoted me 1,500, someone quoted me 500, someone quoted me 750, I say the price for all of them is 1,500. We are redistributing that income back to consumers at the end of the day. So I am glad to move money out of the Hanes BBDO pockets and put them in Jalea's pockets.
Yes. Love
Especially
that.
when so often, I mean, you see so many of these controversies on the back end of that, right? Where brands are stealing from creators and not giving them the acknowledgement. So it's so important for a brand to recognize that this was an issue and do the literal full reverse approach to that and leverage it in this way. And it was more than just, a simple TikTok video. They really embraced it as their full campaign and went full tilt on it, which I think
right.
was
Yeah, I
also
think
really
they had
cool.
like reversed the website. They did a lot of activation that was not just we're paying for this video and this dance to be done. And I think it's also great because it stands in such contrast to like something like the infamous Pepsi Kendall Jenner ad, where it's like here's a beautiful piece of performance that signifies absolutely nothing. Whereas this is like, that didn't put money in anyone's pocket in a meaningful way. It didn't signify a brand shift. If anything, it was totally dissonant with the brand's identity. Whereas this, personally, do I have any idea what Champion and Hanes' brand identity is? No, I don't think about them. If I ever reach for them, it's because it's right there and it's on sale. I'm going to be honest. However, what it actually does is it, at least in my opinion, creates a more authentic and a reasonable form of interaction that has a tangible benefit for the affected community and or individual.
Yeah. And it's so interesting you say that too, Jonathan, because, when you actually look at Champion's brand site, there's really not much there. It's just all selling with product. There you don't see values, you don't see any of how they're marketing these values and how they're doing things like this that are innovative and that are really leveling the playing field and also like taking their brand to the next level. And so, but if you go on Hanes's site, you see all of the good stuff that they're doing for folks with disabilities and to even make their own building more accessible for their employees. And you see things that they're doing for the environment and like all these other marketing of their values, which obviously Champion then shares. But to see that there was this like blip in time of this moment that came and went, and it's like, no, this was really something that the Champion championed, so to speak. And yet, where's their next campaign that they're doing this? Where's the consistency and that commitment? And so, that's also things that we're constantly looking at too.
Absolutely. And I mean, to your point, I think even Hanes now, if I remember correctly, like their slogan is like comfort for everybody or something, or comfortable apparel for everybody, with that distinction being not everybody, everybody, 2 words.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, it is a much clearer purpose. And I think even I did check this before the call, because I do this for every brand now. It's like I go to their corporate website, like, do they still use the words DEI or diversity, inclusion, equity anywhere on here? I only did a cursory look in a minute or two before we got on the call, but they do still say inclusion in a few places. So, we are talking about a specific campaign. We're not here to talk specifically about the company and who they are today, but we are looking at them for this moment in time. And jumping forward to right now, there is this clear idea. Like I don't know the identity of this brand. I couldn't give you a word to describe Champion or Hanes. I would probably say Marshalls. That would be my word for you, because that's when I, in my life, buy either of those brands, it's because I'm at one of those stores, typically buying workout clothes, and that's a brand that I look for those things. I have no idea what their ethos is otherwise.
Yeah. No, that's all very real.
We should send them that insight. Actually, I think that would be this is a great book. Like, what word would you use to describe our brand? TJ Maxx.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Man, okay, sorry. I could have sworn I found something that went into even greater detail on some other elements that I thought were really interesting that they had added to this campaign, but now I can't fucking find it. So don't mind me while I try to.
You'll just do it in real time.
That's what I'm doing.
We're doing it live.
We are
do it live.
This is the part where I always go silent because I'm deep into the internet trying to find things. And they had a contest that was part of it. That is how they built the engagement around, in addition to obviously highlighting her.
Oh, I don't think I knew that. Yeah.
There was a contest element of it so they could get the social engagement and obviously increase views and follows and all of those pieces, which I guess is par for the course these days, right?
It is.
But also a way to get, I mean, I feel like I say that, but I think also there's times where brands do things like that and people are like, that's dumb and don't participate. So they at least were tapping into what was actually cool and just highlighting the real person behind it. Also, and so people wanted to participate, right? It's not like you're doing some bullshit thing that no one cares about.
Well, I mean, also, let's be real. I would love to live in a world where bullshit like this doesn't have to exist, but we live in a world where it exists. So let's, to the whole point of this show, let's call out the people who are at least doing it well and with good, with seemingly the best possible version of their intentions.
100%. 100%. Yes. And understanding that it really was about a campaign about recognition, and it would be nice, and I'm sure this is missed opportunity for good, clearly, but to continue this idea of recognition over time and, bringing up people who are looked over, the underdogs, more than once. And I know we talked about they don't have any brand ethos that's recognizable, but it would be something that you could repeat very easily.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like the unsung heroes, the underdogs.
Yeah.
Like there's even so many different lanes to play in that.
And it's not like they've exactly unsung champions. And they do have this reverse weave week. They made that a thing. They still sell their reverse weave products. So you could make it an annual event.
It's a whole, a whole reversing the narrative thing is so easy.
Yeah.
Campaign writes itself.
Yeah, it really does.
And if it doesn't, we're doing it right now.
Right. Totally. Oh, interesting. It said that it was so successful that they were going to implement this framework and new initiatives in 2022, but I wonder what actually came in 2022 because that doesn't show up particularly quickly.
No.
Because it, for that to be for it to have so much recognition, both in the fact that it actually return the numbers that they were looking for, but then also to win awards and then to not continue to play off it really is a missed opportunity.
Absolutely.
It feels like this could have been, this feels like this could have been a bigger message too. Right. I just think about like what was the message that they wanted to send, right? It was to give credit where credit's due and buy our fucking sweatshirts. Right? Like that was it. So then like, I think about, is there, one of our criteria is we think about is there a nonprofit associated with this campaign? If so, who are they? If not, why not? And I'm just thinking, like, who would have been the nonprofit partner with something like this? Is it?
Well, I think maybe it's not even partners, but I think, well, I'm sure there is a partner for it. But to me, it's like, okay, well, think about what Jalea represents and or the brand. So it's one of those two
Yeah.
directions. So maybe it's athletes, or I would go in the direction of like a creator stipend, a creator training program. Like actually right before we got on this call, I got an email from the Movement for Black Lives about a creator academy they're doing. And I didn't open up, so I don't know what it is, but just off the top of my head, that sounds like the right kind of opportunity, right? Like training the next generation of creators who can follow in Jalea's footsteps. Maybe that's the creating the next generation of champions.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah.
And there's the bow.
There it is. This is just funny. In my 3 seconds on Reddit, literally the first comment was, gentle reminder to regularly check on TJ Maxx and Marshall's websites for champion reverse weave if you're looking to get one.
Oh my God.
So you're not the only one, my friend.
That's really funny. I love that.
But yes, I think, you know, and again, who knows? I think there's always this question, right, of like how much people are paying them. You just hope that everyone is giving creators their true due, not just in believing that you're helping people acknowledge their platform for existence, but actually paying them a fair wage. And also, she was a teenager when this came out, right? So now it's been a few years, maybe she's off to college, but how are you supporting creators, not only in what they're doing now, but is it a champion fund for creators for college as after they partner with things? It's just like seeding a scholarship for them moving forward or the next thing. Because obviously, you know, everyone wants to be a creator these days, but they're not going to be a creator for forever. So how can you help do something different?
I got to tell you, this is like a whole second episode because you're hitting on a topic I care a lot about, which is like, it's funny. I'm about to laugh because my friends always say whenever I say I got to tell you, it's going to be something good. But it's a topic I care really about, which is the relationship of brands and creators. And I think like we need an entire rethink of what that is, primarily because so much of this is driven by one-off moments. We're sending you product, do a post, make a reel. And it's so transparently, as far as I'm concerned as a customer, it is so transparently obvious to me that there is no affinity here. They just want them to do something for them. They don't actually use the product. They don't actually know anything about it. So to me, I want a whole rethink, because of that, because I think we do a disservice to the customer with these one-off bullshits. I also want to rethink because creators deserve income security. Creators deserve predictable revenue streams. So I think we got to get away as much as we can. And listen, I am as much a part of the problem as I hope to be a part of the solution, because we still have clients that only want to do these one-off things, and shifting them on it is a process we work on, but it's not overnight. We got to move from these make me one post to let's have a 6-month relationship. Let's have a year-long relationship. Let's have a quarter test and then expand out for another 9 months. They get to know the audience better. The audience becomes more familiar with your product. You're creating more of those touch points that create future purchase. That's just the type of like industry-wide change that creates a better solution for everyone if we bother to think towards the long term.
100%. And if customers truly want authenticity, which they do, it's not having that long-term relationship, not having that built-in brand affinity ahead of time makes it a not authentic relationship. I mean, it's like when you see Shaq hawk, I mean, he's obviously more than a creator, but like Shaq will hawk anything.
Printers.
Like, you're like, oh, there's Shaq again. Great, they used his face. Or even watching the Super Bowl these days, and you see the same celebrity in 3 ads. No one cares anymore. It doesn't mean anything, right? It dilutes it. So it's like similarly with creators, just to see them showcase a brand with a hashtag ad doesn't help anybody anymore. The model needs to be rethought in order to be sustainable and actually have value in the end, right? So yes to all of that. And I know that's close to Steph's heart as well.
I was going to say, well, welcome to my soapbox. Indeed. And there are some things happening behind the scenes. Actually, I was a part of a new nonprofit that was starting that was supposed to be like a creators union, basically.
Yes, I feel like I remember hearing some whispers about this.
Yeah. So it is happening. There is change happening, but I totally agree with you, Jonathan. Like it needs to happen on the brand side, because that's where for better or worse, real change happens, right? Is in the power of these companies and the purse strings. And so being able to create these long-term relationships. And the other part of the soapbox, right, is to create long-term relationships with nonprofits too and creators. And I'm hoping that through your new initiative, that's really going to take shape. And that's really exciting. Yeah. Is there any other missed opportunities aside from go get your champion gear at Marshalls and TJ Maxx?
That's really making me laugh. I really like this.
It's
I just feel like
good.
we should pitch them. They should just,
It's
this is a
so
free
real.
focus group.
Yeah, you're welcome.
No, I think what we've just discussed is really some of the key components to what could have been done to like optimize and amplify this even further than what it's been.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Again, and it's the kind of thing like, it was so successful, revisit it, continue it, keep the story going. Like, I think we're so quick to always, especially in this industry, we are always so quick to jump and change and next thing, and we got to build upon it. We got to do something better. Well, why not plant a seed and wait for it to germinate, for God's sakes?
Right.
Like it's funny. We had someone emailed me recently, we're coming on, this conversation is happening on the heels of Duolingo killing off and bringing the mascot back. And someone sent us this article and they were like, what can we learn from the Duolingo bird dying and how can we apply that to the brand and make campaigns as successful? Okay, reasonable question. Sure. I was like, but the answer to your question is spend 5+ years building a community around your brand with smaller little hits that progressively become medium hits, that progressively become larger hits. Don't think you're going to do one thing and then suddenly people are going to care. Like those are the exceptions.
The
that
one hit wonder.
Rule. Yeah. Like Duolingo did hundreds of thousands of millions of little things that built a huge network of millions of people following them that led to this being, whether or not I liked it, a successful moment for them. Right? Like this captured the narrative inside and outside the industry for a really long time. And there's nothing about the standalone of they killed the mascot that is the reason why. It's because they built, like, what is the marquee moment, honestly, of this whole thing happening is Dua Lipa acknowledging that Duolingo died. For those who aren't aware, Duolingo has been trying to like appeal to Dua Lipa for the longest time, get her to marry her, say he's obsessed with her, etc. And it finally, that was going on for years and they got the payoff. She acknowledged the death and that took years of seeding that narrative in.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really funny.
Unbelievable.
So champion for having a moment, missed the movement that they could have started.
Yeah, that's right.
So on that note, thank you, Jonathan, so much for joining us today. Where can we send folks to learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, so my website is jonathanjacobs.com. I would encourage you to learn about A Call to Men, where I, again, have the honor to sit on the board. They're working on ending gender-based violence and expanding the man box, acalltomen.org. Loudmouth.agency is our business. And I would say LinkedIn is honestly where I'm most active now and where I enjoy being obnoxious about this industry. So feel free to connect with me there and keep the conversation going.
Amazing.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, and to you, our listeners, for shining a light and learning from those who are doing it well and reducing the missed opportunities for good.
We want to hear from you. Let us know. What campaigns are you seeing that are doing it well? Who would you like to see us interview? And what campaign would you like us to audit?
Thank you for joining us on our mission to revolutionize the industry that we love.
Missed Opportunities for Good is a production of Aligned for Impact and Love of Good.